All right, so this next lesson is all about pitch. We've now learned how to identify the notes on the keyboard and what the names of the notes are called. And I want to talk about how we use pitch in music in basically three ways. The first way that we use pitch, or the highness and lowness of sound in music, is when we write melodies. And melodies are single notes that happen one at a time in succession. And there's really two things that have to take place for something truly to be a melody. I could play the scale that I played before, but that's not really a melody. So for something to be truly a melody, it has to have pitch, but it also has to have rhythm. So I'm going to play this scale coming down from C one more time. This time I'm going to add rhythm to those notes. And now, maybe that sounds familiar to you. It's a melody that we might sing, let's say, at Christmas time. And you can hear now how adding the rhythm to those notes makes it sound more like a melody. So when we look at it on the staff, melodies move from left to right, just like writing in a text. And they are one note at a time, and it looks something kind of like this. I'll go that far. So one note is being played at a time, and it's got rhythm. So you don't have to know what these rhythmic indications are, what the rhythmic values are, but you can see that these are a little bit shorter. You can hear that they're shorter than the last one, right? So we're notating both pitch, which is up and down on the staff, and we're notating rhythm, which is the type of note that we write, and if it's got, stems or flags or beams on there. And that's how we basically notate all the elements that create a melody. So if melodies are one note at a time, harmony is going to be played with more than one note at a time. It's going to look like this on the staff. So here I'm playing three notes, but I'm playing them all together. So when I write it on the staff, they're stacked on top of each other. They're played all together. And harmony in music is something that often supports the melody, and it's also something that offers a lot of emotion to music. So if I play a chord like that one, we generally think of that as being a fairly happy kind of a sound, right? But if I just change one note of that chord, of that harmony, it has a very different emotional feel, right? So I can change the mood or the emotive feel. I can make it sound happy or sad depending on what kind of notes I play in the harmony. Now, technically, harmony doesn't really need three notes to be harmony. You could play any two notes on a keyboard, and that would be considered harmony. So if I play these two notes, that's harmony. And we think of that as being a fairly pleasant sound. We call that a consonance. And then this is also harmony. And usually for most people, they think of that as sort of a displeasing sound, and we would call that a dissonance in music. So we have consonance and we have dissonance. And we can do lots of different variations of dissonance and consonance, but the general idea is that we are going to progress through different kinds of harmonies that fit with our melody, and the range of those notes that we play for harmony is going to be somewhere in the middle of the keyboard. Which brings me to the third point for this little mini class, and that's the bass part. So we have three zones of pitch. Usually up higher on the keyboard and also in the treble clef, the melody sort of sits on top of the music, up there. The harmony is usually somewhere in the middle. And then we support the harmony by playing a bass line somewhere on the bottom third of the keyboard, down here. So this chord, I can play a bass note below it, and it reinforces the sort of fundamental note at the bottom of that chord, and just gives it more weight. The bass note is very important because it tells our ear what's the bottom of this harmony, and it helps to kind of frame all the notes that happen above the bass part. Bass is also a really great way to add rhythm to a song, and we're going to find that the bass part is very much tied in with what happens in the drums. All right, so just to recap, we've got 3 zones. We've got melody up on the top, 1 note at a time. We have harmony in the middle, more than 1 note at a time. And we have bass on the bottom, which is playing 1 note that supports the fundamental note of the harmony.